Today, my friends, is vlog day 1026. Feels like I'm practicing my golf swing. I don't think I've ever golfed before. How's golf? Do you like golf?
Good morning. It's Wednesday. I gotta start looking at the calendar. And it's a gray, rainy little day out there. I was thinking about riding my wheel. I still might ride my wheel. I don't know though, depending on how much it's raining out there. I don't know that I really want to ride it through all the puddles and stuff. I am on my way over to Mont. I'm gonna go sit down with someone who's writing a master's thesis about me, which is kind of crazy. So I'm gonna go sit down and do an interview with her, which should be a new experience. And I figured that in doing the podcast episode that I did with Prushan, the availability of which will be discussed in the future. But in talking with him, there are a number of points that he didn't know about my life that I thought, you know what? There's a lot of people that have joined on with the whole vlog thing recently, maybe through the 20 and 20, maybe through other things, who don't know what the heck they've gotten into and maybe feel a little bit like, wow, we just went from like seeing each Iranian's one every day to Jay's asleep at home. What's going on? So rather than make you go back and watch every vlog I've ever filmed to get caught up, I figured, I might as well help you hit some of the high notes here. But I'm also running a little bit late, so I need to put on like warmer clothes and maybe waterproof clothes and get out of here. It'll be nice. The rain will be a nice element to the day. My name is Jay. I live in Paris. That's about it. Now, this is the third time that I've lived in France. I don't really know where to start with this. It's a jour férié today. I want to say jour férié aujourd'hui, which means it's basically a bank holiday. Pretty much nobody is out and about. Bakeries are closed. Banks are definitely closed. It's going to be a chill day. Thankfully, Ceylon is open today, and that's where I'll be going for coffee, finally. Tried to go there last week, didn't work out so well. One of the things that I wanted to distinguish today, and also kind of recapping my story a little bit, where I came from, why I'm in Paris, how I got here, was the reason that I make vlogs. Most of you that watch my vlog regularly, or have been watching for a long time, will know that I started vlogging when I was living in Spokane as a way of challenging myself, upping the level of production, like kind of going from posting a photo a day to doing something way more intense, but also, making sure to include video in my life again. I love making videos. I was really inspired by Casey Neistat, like everyone was when he started making his vlog. I was really excited just to get out there and make something again, especially because I was in a really dark place at the time and really needed some achievable wins, The ability to actually control the creative process for something and finish something every day was really, really beneficial for me, for my emotional and spiritual health at the time. And also the ability to reach out and start finding people in communities outside of my own that might better understand me, might better accept me, and might, want to actually hang out digitally. That's where this started before I even moved to Paris. The shorter summary of that situation that I tend to give is that I put everything on the table between a couple of books and a product that I was trying to launch, a tech product. It was a Bluetooth bracelet for kids. I took huge risks. I was working really hard, and I kind of put all my eggs in just a few baskets. I'm swinging for the fences, as my dad put it recently, and I struck out really hard. And that's kind of what precipitated me coming to Paris in the first place. I am definitely the type to swing for the fences. That is a personality trait if I ever had one. I've got big dreams, got big ambitions, big goals, and you're not gonna make those with tiny little steps. Although the tiny steps are also important along the way. You can't exclusively take those. At least I don't think you can. Seriously, Paris is dead. It's great. This is like a holiday on a Sunday for half the people are out and about. I moved to Paris more or less on a lark. Like, I'd lived here before, knew I loved it, knew I wanted to come back, but I didn't know how to make that happen. So I did a bunch of research on possible visas, and the thing is that it's really hard to get sponsored to move here. Like, there are very few companies that are gonna pay for the process to actually sponsor your visa, and a lot of them are in specialties and types of work that I wouldn't qualify for. At least the law degree that I printed out for myself from yesimaloyer.com did not work out so well. But I did think, well, maybe I can do it with my writing, I write science fiction fantasy. I've successfully kickstarted a couple things. I figured it was a really, really long shot. I didn't think that I'd get it. And in the end, I was lucky enough that, I don't know why, but they took me up on it. It's gotten really rainy out there. I don't think I'm ever gonna go back outside again. Although all I want to do right now is nap. Nice to meet you, Ashley. Thanks for chatting. Where were we? Oh yeah, the French took a risk on me, and I'm not really sure why.
That was nice. Got a fair amount of work done. I'm working on yet another thing. so many random little projects and so forth. This is one I'm working on a little bit of something to do with the 20 and 20. I'll share more about that as we go. But in the meantime, in the end, I'm not sure why France took a chance on me. People always ask like how to get a visa and whatnot, and I think I basically just went through the process that was on the website, right? I collected the articles that I had to and made the best case for myself that I could and hoped for the best and eventually got lucky. I got very lucky, and that's covered pretty extensively in a variety of vlogs. But when I came to Paris, you know, back then when I was vlogging too, I was still vlogging every day, but I only had, 600 subscribers maybe. I've been vlogging every day for probably about 4 months. And it really breathed new life into things when I got to Paris because I love this city. I love exploring the city. There's so much to visit, to see, to do, to photograph. It was wonderful and it was life-giving. It was life-altering. I mean, I was in a deep, dark, depressed state living in Spokane at the time, struggling to get anything to work, failing at all my dreams, putting myself out there and just falling flat on my face time and time again. And then I came here, and even though I hadn't really succeeded at anything, that in and of itself was a success. To come back to Paris and to have the opportunity to live here was a massive opportunity, and one that I didn't want to squander. And I still hope I'm not squandering in one way or another. And even though it was a huge struggle, like when I came here, there was promise of work, and I got the job, but they didn't have any work for me for the first 6 months. And I would end up being a tour guide, doing bike tours for that summer, struggling really to make ends meet to the point that I eventually had to go bankrupt, which was a huge challenge. But in acquiring a ton of debt and taking a lot of risks over the course of a number of years and increasing the amount that I was making, but also increasing the amount that I was investing in the depths of the debt I went into to pursue the variety of projects that we were just talking about. I built a lot of pressure on myself and went through all of these things. And I think one of the greatest lessons that I learned through all of that, and what I shared with Ashley when we sat down for this interview, was that the more I could be honest and vulnerable about my hopes and dreams for the future, as well as my failures in the present and the past, the greater the personal reward, and the more that I felt the acceptance both from the community that was growing around me, as well as within myself. Because the more I put myself out there and realized, to err is human, right? To fail is human. The more I accepted myself in the midst of those failures, and the more that I could turn around and learn from them. So I made it to Paris, but vlogging was still kind of an external thing. It was always a personal project, a passion project, something I hoped would lead to, growing an audience, being able to share my life, finding people that were just genuinely interested in what was going on. But it was also something I did in the midst of being a tour guide, doing translation work, voice acting, web design, and eventually teaching English. And I taught English over the course of a year as well, doing a lot of things to make ends meet in the midst of also investing heavily. Oh no, where I was going to go for lunch is probably closed. Oops. These holidays kill you. It was raining and thundering, and then now it's not. Sorry, I was useless. I was trying to get lunch there, got super distracted, and could not focus for like 5 seconds. What I believe I was trying to say was that I continued to work multiple jobs for, a couple of years while I was still vlogging, putting everything that I had into trying to make the best story that I could make out of my vlog, out of my life, sharing my life, while at the same time, needing to make ends meet and survive. And what was really cool is a couple of the changes that I made in the second season of my vlog included trying to be more vulnerable and honest about the future, like I was saying, but also extending that vulnerability to accepting the generosity of others and valuing the work that I did to the point that I opened that door and said, hey, if you want to pay for this, if you enjoy this enough that you think it's worth a little bit of money every month, support me on Patreon. And I made a committed effort to really diving into Patreon and to pushing that more frequently for an entire season of my vlog. And I need to be pushing it more regularly now. It's one of those things that's been missing from my vlog for like the last month, and I forgive me for that. I will try to do better. What was really, really cool was not only was there was so much growth in so many arenas, like the growth personally in self-acceptance and in health and in stability, the growth on the channel, the growth just naturally by adding a video to my backlog of content every day. There was just a lot of really cool things happening. And Patreon was one of those that as it grew, it steadily took the pressure off and eventually, slowly over time, removed the need to be doing all these random side jobs that I was doing just to make ends meet and to stay afloat. So about 6 months ago, I don't remember how long ago it was, 7 months ago, something like that, I basically made the official transition into being a full-time creative, for lack of a better term, and I've been able to just focus on kind of transitioning into this weird balance. Now, the tricky part is this is definitely more of an existential update than like a timeline update. But one of the things that I've been discussing and struggling with and debating how much I should really talk about on camera, because I think it's very niche and specific to what I'm doing and not something that necessarily everybody can identify with, is moving into this balance where I've been working so hard for years and years and years and years to carve out a life for myself that I want, that now that I'm more or less entering into that life, I'm like a dog who's been chasing a car and I caught the car. And now it's like, what do I do with this car? I have it by the bumper. I don't know what to do. I can do whatever I want with this car now. So I'm in that, I'm a little bit caught in that transition of figuring out where to go next. And it's a real privilege. It's really, really cool. And thank you, of course, as always, to all of my patrons for being such a huge part of making that possible, but also to everybody else who's for slowing that car down enough for me to catch it, or speeding me up enough to catch it. Now I'm in a place where I need to kind of take some time to really just think and prioritize and reflect, which vlogging every day does not leave a lot of time for reflection, believe it or not. It is active reflection when I talk to the camera like this, which is why it's very tempting to spend more time talking to the camera about this. But what comes next is going to be interesting. I have a number of different possibilities on the horizon. There are a handful of projects that I've kind of been toying with. There are a number of things that I need to get caught up on still. Like I need to finish the audiobook for Couriers, the book we kickstarted last year. So there are a handful of loose ends that need to be tied up there. And then there's also just a plethora of possibilities to pursue. That should get you pretty well caught up on me, what I'm doing, how I got here. And as for where I want to go, I want to make movies. That's one of the reasons why I've brought up Marvel a couple times recently, in seeing what they've been able to do in tying together an entire universe through multiple stories to bring them to a dramatic conclusion. They've proven that it can be done and done well. But I have real hopes and dreams for that for the future, talking about swinging for the fences. Really big plans, really big dreams, really big hopes. And I would hope that whether you've discovered me recently or you've been here for years, that I can provide enough context and enough of a story along the way that whether or not I make it to those big dreams that I have out in the future, that the journey itself is worth it and that the journey itself is interesting and that, we'll stumble through it together and we'll see where we end up. Because that's all that this has been so far, has been a lot of stumbling, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of really scary moments, at least for me personally, and I've wound up in a pretty sunny spot. The thunderclouds have cleared, metaphorically and literally, and I'm really excited to see where we go next and what this turns into. Anywho, that's a little bit of an update. If you have any questions, you might save them for the next Q&A. We'll do one here in the not too distant future. But of course, if you think I missed anything, if you've been following for a long time and there's anything in there that I missed, feel free to leave a link to a video that explains something that I should have talked about today, so that the people that have only been around for a little while can go get caught up, toot to sweet. That'd be fantastic. And yeah, I'm gonna go for a run, I think, because it looks delightfully sunny out and I need to burn off some energy. So I will see you bright and early tomorrow morning for yet another day in beautiful old Paris. And hopefully I'll go to a coffee shop that's open on the first try today. Ceylon was closed again today. I didn't really talk about that earlier, but I'm just no good at finding open coffee shops apparently. I will see you tomorrow morning for, I'm sure, a guaranteedly open coffee shop.